Righty-ho! Hi everyone! Welcome again to AuthorStory. I'm Alexander Lim, your host, and for this episode, we'll be tackling an old mystery, and we're also going on a treasure hunt on Oak Island. I'm interviewing Petter Amundsen, author of the book Oak Island and the Treasure Map in Shakespeare. And for those of you following along who are interested in the Oak Island treasure and how it could connect to Shakespeare, you can go over now to the Amazon link in the description below the video and check out or get a copy of Petter's book. So Petter, welcome to AuthorStory. It's a real honor having you with us right here as our guest.
Thank you, Alex, for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Cool. So Petter, please tell us about yourself in the book. What's your story?
Well, my story is that I'm a Norwegian, which means born in Norway, and by profession I'm a musician. I play the pipe organ in the church, and this might seem a little bit puzzling for me to write a book about Oak Island and Shakespeare when I play the organ, but in fact I think it's quite relevant because the education you get as a church musician is almost the kind of education that you would get if you were a symbologist like Mr. Langdon in the Dan Brown's novels. We learn about languages and symbols, etc. I had some geometry from school, etc. And with enough time on my hands to pursue interests, I think that sets me up for this mystery in quite a natural way.
Okay.
So I'm 53 years old, a number that is very important in my book, so I enjoy this year. In a few weeks I'm 54, so just a few more weeks to enjoy my special number.
Okay.
Right now I'm having a vacation, sitting in my summer cabin in a town called Kragerø, south of Oslo.
Okay.
In which I normally spend my time. And having Tour de France on the television with the sound cut off, of course.
Okay.
And, really enjoying my time, yeah.
All right. Fantastic. So next let's talk about Oak Island and Shakespeare. Well, first about Shakespeare. How did you get interested in Shakespeare? I mean, how did you get interested? Interested in this guy.
Through the mystery, actually, because like everybody else, I knew a little bit about Shakespeare, but I must admit that I did not have any great love for the guy, and I watched some videos like Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet, mostly because I think it's what you need to do to be some kind of educated guy. You can't not know this, but it didn't really talk to me. But when I stumbled across this mystery while I was pursuing something completely different, I was in fact looking for some special secrets to become a master in the futures markets in the stock exchange. I stumbled across a theory that there was a code, a cipher, onto William Shakespeare's gravestone in Stratford-in-Avon, and trying to solve this mystery myself in order to learn about the special cipher system that allegedly was used on the stone. I got this astonishing result that really made me leave the stock market and future market alone, and then I found that I really had to learn about Shakespeare, and I bought a facsimile of the Great Folio with 36 plays, which is a very famous book. It's second only to the Gutenberg Bible among collectors, but of course this is a facsimile, so a paperback. But the contents is magical, and this gravestone solution really threw me onto a path that led me to Oak Island and talking to you now.
Right. So how did you get interested in Oak Island? I mean, I know it's probably the most famous treasure mystery of all, the Money Pit. Can you just give us a brief history about the history of Oak Island, the Oak Island treasure story?
Well, the standard way of telling it, and I'm not sure if this is historically correct, because history is almost always debated. But the official version is that in 1795, 3 young men rowed out to this island, which lies quite close to the shore in Nova Scotia. And it said that they had seen mysterious lights out there, and for some reason they wanted to explore the island. And they found a clearing in the woods, and there was this oak tree with a block and rope hanging from a sort of branch of the tree, and below the block there was this depression, a circular depression in the ground. And of course they were thinking about a pirate treasure, because Captain Kidd's treasure was a great fad. This was the Captain Kidd's days. And when they began to dig, they found a layer of flagstones, and they removed these and dug down to 10 feet. And there they discovered a platform of oak logs. And they continued down to 30 feet, and for every 10 foot they discovered a similar layer, and then they just gave up. And 7 years later or so, they had teamed up with a group of people, and they managed to dig down to 90 feet, where they supposedly found a stone with inscriptions. And the traditional inscription version is that it can easily be decrypted into the sentence, 40 feet below 2 million pounds are buried. So, and when they continued, they somehow tripped a water trap. So the whole shaft was filled with water, and since that day all kinds of problems have been hindering people to go much below. And they have been drilling down, and they found there to be layers of different material, even steel and concrete. And in 1897, a small piece of paper or parchment was detracted from 153 feet down, which is quite remarkable. What would paper do with even with writing on this deep? But you only have 2 letters on the paper, a V and an I, so it won't help you very much. But of course the mystery lives, and what speaks for there to really be something about this mystery is that the people who have been involved, they tend to spend their lives there. So these 3 young guys, they spent the remainder of their lives trying to find the treasure. So they must have believed there to be something there, and this is a tradition that lingers on today. And we have Dan Blankenship, now in his 90s, who has spent decades there. And of course we had the late Mr. Nolan, who passed away in June this year, who also spent decades. So people become obsessed, and I think this is because they really sense there is something to this mystery. So even if few people who really look into it believe that there were really these 3 young boys, then there are other discoveries that strengthens the idea that there really is something to be found on this island.
Okay, cool, I got that. And actually, I mean, the money pit is one. Your book has like 3 elements to it, and the money pit is one of them. I was going to go over them individually, but first off, I know you've been to to Oak Island, correct? I mean, I think you were in like with the Lagina brothers. I think you were in like the Curse of Oak Island, one of their episodes there.
That's right. I've been to the island several times. First time in 2003, and several visits since then. And my final visit was what is shown in episode 4 of the first season of The Curse.
Okay, I got that. So you've seen the money pit itself. I mean, you've been there, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what is it that's about the money pit that is so difficult to get at whatever treasures in there?
the area has been severely damaged, so it's very difficult to make meaning of what is there, and they even have problems to know exactly where the money pit is. So there are different theories. Is the money pit there? No, it's over there. No, it's here. So they don't know exactly where it was, but there have been crashes inside the money pit where tons of timber have been swallowed by the hole, and I don't think that it would really be very meaningful to try to explore the way the money pit is today, because it's damaged goods. I prefer to look at what has not yet been completely ruined, and I think you know what I mean.
Right. Yes. Definitely. So I mean, since you have been there, I mean, I'm sure you're kind of familiar with the state of engineering in the 18th and 17th centuries. How do you think the creators created the thing in the first place? I mean, given that there are so many challenges to making that thing, to even getting at that thing.
I must admit that I am not a firm believer in the water trap. I think that the water trap business is probably the most difficult to subscribe to the way it could have been made. Having a channel going hundreds of feet underground out to the beach, etc. It would be extremely difficult to create this, but I'm open to the idea that it could have been. But this was the era where mining was quite evolved, and if you look at the mining techniques back in the 15th, 16th century, you'd be impressed to see what they really managed to do with their simple tools. So going this deep should be no problem, but of course you need great force of people, lots of workers to do this, probably slaves or convicts to make this. So my theory is that whoever did this got convicts and slaves from Spain. I think that they would need to have mercury or quicksilver in order to complete this, because of a special preservation technique that I suspect is involved here. And if there were Englishmen, then they could take the ships down to Spain to get both the mercury and the workers, and the workers wouldn't know what the English people were saying, so it would be easier to keep it secret and then move over the Atlantic. So, but of course, it is speculation. I like to focus on what is definite, what is there, because that is no speculation, and how it was made. That it could be this, it could be that. I mean, I'm not comfortable, but it could be fun to speculate. But it's guesswork.
But we can say that this is an involved piece of engineering. I mean, it's not like something like what a pirate would do to bury their treasure. I mean, it required a lot of people and a lot of work.
For a pirate to bury something this deep, it doesn't make sense at all. So I don't think that many people believe in the treasure idea anymore. I think that is from the days gone by.
Okay, well, so, that's my favorite theory as a kid. So because it was pirates. So.
But that would be shallow. I mean, true. 10 feet at most.
Nothing.
It is the other feature that is on the island, the cross, that really opens this mystery up, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get on with Shakespeare. I mean, your book relates patterns in Shakespeare's play to the treasure here in Oak Island. Why is that? Why did you? How could? Well, first off, how could Shakespeare be connected with Oak Island? Possibly be connected to Oak Island in the first place?
The key here is the Rosicrucians. In my book, I tried to build a case that the Shakespeare folio, which I mentioned earlier, is a Rosicrucian publication. And when we know that the Rosicrucians published a few other books under their own name, where they write about a certain vault with treasure and a corpse, and they invite people to look for it, then it's possible to think that, okay, since they secretly have signed this great Shakespeare book as the Rosicrucians, maybe they also have incorporated the map to this special vault within this book, since it's obviously not in the official Rosicrucian books. They don't point to any places, but the two Shakespeare publications that are really famous, the Sonnets and the first folio. Sonnets are poems, and the first folio has the 36th plays. And these two together will build a map. If you have got a few keys to understand the cipher, for instance, that the Latin letters are really Greek letters, then you can see that you have a possibility of constellations, and the stellar map and the terrestrial map, they share the same coordinates. So if you have a spot in the sky, you can transfer it onto the ground. So it's a very practical yet very well hidden map. Not something that you would suspect, and it takes some time to understand this, because the Earth spins all the time. How can you stop it? I mean, the stars move all the time, but there is a logic to this, and you will also see that the period globes have stars painted onto them, so that they had this reference with the stars in the sky. So if the Shakespeare folio gives you a certain star to look for, then you have the area, and then you really need something to home in on point X, because a star it's too wide an area to be practical. But I say that you also get the name of the island and the way that you can interpret the primary feature on this island, which is the cross that I mentioned, and then it fits together. So it could be in my mind, but if it is, then I'm happy, because it takes quite some imagination to create something out of nothing. True. But this is a theory that has a beginning and has an end, and it flows in a stream that is quite impressive. People tend to get touched by it, and some even get obsessive.
Okay, I got that. So let's talk about Shakespeare for a minute. But do you think he was part of the Rosicrucian movement? I mean,
definitely.
Okay.
He was.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he was. It's confirmed.
But I don't think that he necessarily was the writer of the plays. This is a theory that is a parallel to my pursuit, because the authorship question is not paramount to the treasure part here, but knowing what I think I know, I find it quite obvious that it was a team effort, that we have no less than 3 authors of the Shakespeare plays, and I think this is the original group of Rosicrucians, and it's linked to the early Freemasonry. So I think that William from Stratford, he was a part of this, and a man who took the risk of being a front man for this project. He was probably involved in the theater business. Some people say there are 2 different William Shakespeares, but I think it's the same guy who had a theater business in London, and also was a tradesman in Stratford. But there is nothing that indicates, apart from the name, of course, that he even could write his name. So if you look at his mother and father and his offspring, you see no no definite signs that they could write. Father, he signed with his ex, and so did one of his daughters, and the other daughter, when confronted with her late husband's reading, she demonstrates that she was unable to read it. So, and in between, you have the greatest poet of all times, the man who almost single-handedly created the English language. It doesn't make sense to me. So, but it makes sense that you have a person who is taking the risk, fronting the writing of noblemen, because I think there are noblemen behind the writings.
Okay. So let's talk about the pattern. You mentioned there's sort of like an earth pattern, a sky pattern. What is the pattern really all about that you saw in these Shakespearean works?
It is a square and compass pattern in the sky.
Okay.
In the dimension 6 by 7. So this makes it 7 steps from the bottom of the square to the top of the compasses. And this mimics the 7 steps that you find in mystery societies, for instance, the Freemasonry. So when you have passed the 7 steps, then you are at the top. And this point in the sky, it's very technical to try to explain this on the radio.
Right, okay.
When you are at the top point, then you are at the top of the cross in the sky, the Northern Cross, also known as the Swan. The Swan is a little bit bigger, but the Northern Cross is a part of the Swan, the Cygnus in Latin. And this top star is called Deneb, and this Deneb star is the point that unites the square and compass, meaning the Old Covenant or the Old Testament, if you like, in the Masonic realm, with the cross, which is the New Testament. So this is a point that really unites the Jewish faith with the Christian religion. And it's a perfect spot for a temple. And if you use the coordinates of that era with the 0 meridian going through the western of the Canary Islands and not through Greenwich, then you will find that you are onto the coast of Nova Scotia. And the latitude in the 1790s was exact with Oak Island. So in Shakespeare's time, it was a little bit to the south, and now it's a little bit to the north, because the stars, they move through a 25,000 years cycle. But as a synchronistic happening, when these 3 young boys were beginning to dig on Oak Island, then this Deneb, this star, was exactly at the same latitude as the island. And it's a fun fact, but you can begin to wonder what kind of forces are there in the universe that makes this happen. But so it is. So on the island, you will find probably the third element that you mentioned. So you have the money pit and Shakespeare, and probably you are thinking about the cross that Mr. Nolan discovered in 1981. Yeah. Because this is what makes this all come to life. Because the island it's not a really big island, but I mean, looking for a treasure spot, if you don't have a certain reference point, it's the proverbial needle in the haystack. But Mr. Nolan, who passed away in June this year, he was a land surveyor, and he had his students as a summer job mapping the whole island with stones and markers and everything. And in 1981 he saw that he had a perfect cross, and this was even on his property, because he owned a part of the island.
Okay.
So very convenient for him that he controlled that cross, but so it is another coincidence in favor of something happening. The cross has arms of 360 feet, which is a geometrical number, and the stem has 3 large boulders. So there are 5 large boulders, each weighing at least 10 tons. Wow. They were standing upright like an egg or a cone. And the curious thing about it, which really made me think in what I believe is the right direction, is that at the crossing, the junction of the arms and the stem, there were no boulder. But Mr. Nolan, he dug down and found a sandstone that had a curious shape. But I make not very much meaning from this. I think it may be important, but the important thing is that it should be invisible, because you have the third boulder down the stem, and this made it possible to think that these 5 boulders are 5 of the 10 points called Sephiroth in the Tree of Life. And this is a Kabbalistic symbol.
Okay.
And the Rosicrucians were Christian Kabbalists, so it all fits. So if you were to create a symbol that unites the Christian faith with the Jewish mysticism, then you have a cross that is secretly a tree of life. So then it's just, in quotation marks, to extrapolate what the remaining 5 points would be. And this was what I did in 2003. I went there with the spades and found what was hiding in 2 of the remaining 5 Sephiroth. Wow. And what I found was inspiring. There were 2 stones that were very similar in shape and color, and you can see them in the book. So it did not falsify my hypothesis. It's difficult to prove a hypothesis, but I was looking to falsify it, but I could not, because of the discovery of these 2 similar stones. Whether there will be stones to be found on the remaining 3, it remains to be seen. But one of these remaining 3 points is what I believe is the ultimate point X on Oak Island, where the entrance to whatever cave system is on the island should be found, if my theory is correct.
Right. Cool. Wow. That's definitely involved, definitely detailed right there. And
then you get a specific point. It's down to 1 feet plus minus, pretty exact.
Yeah, cool. All right, so Peter, authors who write nonfiction books, they sometimes go on a journey as they do so. Has working on this book done that for you?
Oh yes, very much so. It is constant learning. I stumble across new to me knowledge almost every day. There is so much to learn, and this could indeed be the real treasure here, because you hear stories, legends about people talking about there's a treasure there, but what is the real treasure is the voyage, the passage to come to the treasure. We discover that there was nothing there, but you have experienced so much wonderful on your way that it was a treasure. So it could be a case of this, but given what is on the island, and would people create a cross like this with 10-ton boulders just to teach people a humbling lesson? I'm not sure. I think there's something else, but it has definitely been a path. It's so interesting. It is difficult to make money from selling books like this, but the reward is on a different level, and it's definite.
Cool. That's great. So Peter, you're definitely involved with Oak Island and this treasure. But other than that, are there any other activities that you might be undertaking that our listeners might be interested in?
Well, yes. If you find this to be entertaining, then probably look up the TEDx talks in September, because I'm invited to give one around the 9th, and I don't know how long it will be until it's up and running, but in the end of September I would suspect that it is available, and it is one of my favorite favorite subjects within this Shakespeare secretive realm that I'm going to talk about, and it's the identity of the mysterious Master W.H.
Right.
So there are so many different branches to this mysterious tree of life that we have. So I wonder where it will take me eventually, but I'm certainly enjoying the ride.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you're enjoying the journey itself.
I do. I enjoy it immensely, and even talking to you is enjoyment.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that. So, Peter, in the last few minutes of this interview, are there any last words of wisdom you would like to share to inspire our listeners?
Try to obey your inner voice, your instincts. This is what I have been doing. If I got some kind of intuitive whisper, some kind of urge, some kind of itching and inkling, I tried to accommodate it. And more often than not, it has helped me. And I think that this kind of inner listening is something that you can develop. If you try to overrun it by saying, nah, come on, then it will probably be silenced. But if you do the opposite and really try to cherish its information, I'm tempted to say wisdom, but information, then it's really remarkable what can happen. And this voyage that I really enjoy has come about as a result of listening to this faint inner voice, feeling that I should go to that shelf, maybe this book has something, and then oftentimes it really has an important piece of information. So this is my inspiring idea, I hope. So people can take it for whatever it's worth. But,
cool. Yeah. So there, listeners, listen to your instincts. So in closing, then, the book is Oak Island and the Treasure Map in Shakespeare. The author is our guest, Petter Amundsen, and you can find his book on Amazon. So, Peter, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being an AuthorStory. It's a great privilege to have you with us as our guest.
Thank you so much, Alex. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Of course, for those of you listening, if you want to get Peter's book, Oak Island, the Treasure Map in Shakespeare, you can get it right now by going to the Amazon link in the description below the video. And if you'd like to follow our author videos on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. So, bye for now, but I'll be back on AuthorStory next time with another inspiring author.